Aloha salty friends, it's Levon again, back at you from the desert with part 2 of our 2-part video series where we are discussing the do's and the don'ts of what it is you need to do and don't do during this time of quarantines, lockdowns, and our lives being kind of turned upside down so that you can maintain progress towards your fitness goals. Today, we're going to talk about the do's. Let's go. Hey guys, so in our last video, hopefully you saw, in part 1, we talked about all the things you want to make sure you don't do in order that you don't mess yourself up as you're trying to make all these adjustments to this new world of, like we talked about, the COVID-19 fallout, if you want to call it that. Now today what we're going to talk about is some of the more positive do's, the things you can and should do in order to set yourself up for success despite the adjustments you're going to have to make and the disruptions you've seen to your routine in order for you to continue on your progress towards your fitness goals. So, thing number 1 to make sure you do is have an extreme amount of awareness. Not only the surroundings around you, but yourself as it relates to those surroundings. As you've seen by now, the world is really, really weird. All the things you can and can't do, depending on where you live, have, like I said, disrupted you more than likely. But what you may not have done yet so far is to take a really closer look and take stock of what's going on with your life. Especially the things that are out of whack and what you can or can't do to put them back into place so that your routine is more consistent and reliable and you know what's coming from day to day so that you can do what you need to do in order to take care of your health and fitness on a day-to-day basis. For example, maybe you don't have to go into a physical location for work anymore. Maybe you're at home now. And because of that, you're starting to sleep in a little bit longer. And because of that, things that you might have normally done, such as a workout or plan your meals or other healthy habits, might be getting pushed later into the day. And then as that day goes on, you find yourself having to complete work and other tasks around the house, and then everything gets kind of forgotten in terms of your workouts and so on and so forth. And this is really, really important because not being aware of these changes and adapting to them as you go is going to have severe consequences and cause you to live kind of a fly by the seat of your pants sort of an existence, which is going to make nothing happen. And like we talked about in the last video, you might be sitting there thinking, well, I'm just going to kind of wait, put some of this stuff off onto the back burner until these things pass and normal life and my routines start to resume. But the problem is, like we talked about in the last video, again, you don't know when that's going to happen. So meanwhile, while you wait, all of your efforts from the past and the things that you need to keep doing now to continue to stay in shape are kind of going by the wayside and all of your health is starting to tank. Now, once you've realized that there's an awareness that needs to happen and you've become more aware, step 2 is to plan. Now, you can't just plan in your head. You've got to have a written plan. However that is written, it doesn't matter if it's on a note on your phone like I do, or if you're one of those super duper planners who likes to use an actual physical written daily planner, doesn't matter. The important thing is that you've got something written down on a day-to-day basis on what you're going to accomplish, and the more specific you can be, the better it's going to be for you. And I know for a lot of you who are non-planner types, not very type A-ish, that sounds really unappealing, right? But like we're going to talk about a little bit later in this video, this crisis that we're all going through gives us all the chance really to be better at a lot of different things that we might not have been able to have the chance to try before, because obviously we're in a situation we've never been in before. So I highly, highly encourage you to have a plan every single day for what you're going to accomplish. Now, a little pro tip for you is whatever it is you want to get done the most in a day, do that thing or those things as early in the day as possible. The reason for that, hopefully you know, is because when you put things off, the day starts to go on, energy starts to drop, motivation starts to drop with it, focus starts to drop with it, and we start to have less and less available energy and resources internally to be able to accomplish those things that are most important. And you end up inevitably focusing on something little and minute that doesn't matter that much, but that's easy to do and kind of ends up getting in the way. So focus in your planning on accomplishing the most important parts of your day as early in the day as possible. Now, do number 3 is something that we've kind of already touched upon, and that is make sure you're getting enough sleep. If you do not get enough sleep during this time, and I realize me saying this might sound like, well, of course I'm going to get enough sleep because I don't have to get up early for work and I can set my schedule to whatever I want. But the fact is, human nature is that we will procrastinate a lot of things, which is going to lead to other things that are necessary getting rushed, which is going to lead to a lack of sleep. So what ends up happening, like we talked about, is people will often get up later, and the day will go on and on and on, and things will get done. You'll stay up later, and then you'll find out that you have to get up early the next morning to get more and more done, and then your sleep starts to shrink, so on and so forth. And like we talked about, what that leads to is a lack of energy, a lack of focus, and a lack of motivation, and all of which will lead to you getting less done, including those things you need to do to stay in shape, right? Then, when you start to get frustrated with yourself because of all this, what happens? You do more and more of the same, and it's just kind of a vicious cycle that repeats itself. Now, another pro tip with this specific thing that you should be working on is that people who get good sleep consistently, they plan it. They plan it into their day, and they make it such that they go to sleep more or less the same time every day and wake up the same time every day, so that their body knows the rest cycle relative to the circadian rhythms that we have, when that sleep is coming and when they need to be up and energetic and doing things. Now, do number 4 has a lot to do with how you work out. Obviously, if you go to the gym and that's your thing, your life is a little bit disrupted, and you may be having a hard time getting on track with workouts. But the number one thing I can do to give you some advice on how to work out during times like these is to do something that I call training high yield. Now, what do I mean by high yield? A high yield exercise or a high yield workout is an exercise or a workout that involves a selection of the exercises that are ones that are going to give you the most bang for your buck. So what I'm talking about is not things like standing there and doing a single arm bicep curl. What we're talking about is doing maybe a deadlift to a bicep curl. Something that involves lots of different muscle groups, preferably the larger muscle groups, in tandem and in combination with each other, so that you can burn the most amount of calories and give yourself the most amount of metabolic boost per repetition, per exercise, per workout that you can, in order to give yourself the best chance of success. You know, being that you don't have access to the fanciest, nicest equipment or the most amount of weights that you need or want, training in this way becomes super, super important because of that, and you lose some of that benefit, I recognize, from being able to work out in a gym. And I'm a really big proponent of this anyway, even if you are training in the gym, because who wants to waste time, right? Who wants to spend more time than they have to working out? And so what you can do during this time, like we talked about with the planning, if that's not normally your thing, training like this, even if it's not normally your thing, is really, really awesome, because it provides you an opportunity to try different exercises, to try different workouts. And doing this helps you to learn more about your body and how it works, and what types of exercises, if applied to the body, will suddenly give you a boost in your output of your exertion, if you will, and the metabolic response that your body gives you in response to that you maybe never experienced before. So if you're sitting there thinking, I don't want to train like this, I miss the gym, again, I'm going to wait until I can go back to the gym, I would highly, highly encourage you not to think like that, and try some things that will help you to maybe get in better shape than you ever were before. You might be surprised. Now, if you're kind of at a loss for what it is that you can do that would constitute a high yield exercise, I got your back there. Lots and lots of exercises are available in my Exercise of the Week video series that I've done in the past, that I'm also going to add to in the future with a new and improved style and approach to it. And there's lots and lots of stuff that you can do, even with just your own body weight. So I highly encourage you to take a look at that playlist, contact me if you'd like, and I can give you some suggestions on some other high yield exercises that'll work for you. Now, the last thing on this list of things I want you to make sure you do as you're trying to adapt to this new world that we live in right now is to make the very focused, conscientious effort every single day to choose to be happy, optimistic, and upbeat. Because I realize that these are really, really weird times and you might feel depressed. And I just want you to remind yourself and be able to remind yourself every day to take heart, that it's going to be okay. And if you're out of work and really scared, also, it's gonna be okay, I promise. I can totally understand where you're coming from. A couple of weeks ago, I lost out on many, many clients and a good chunk of money that I had to refund with photography clients. Not to mention, nobody's really coming into Hawaii right now, and people are not really able to go to the beach either. And so I can't really book anything for the foreseeable future. A lot of income lost. However, please do remember that fear and faith are opposites of each other, and they don't exist at the same time. You might be having a ton of fear right now because of your situation, and hey, that's normal. But after you've let that fear kind of wash through you, every single day, use your agency, your brain, whatever it is, your energy, whatever you want to call it, to choose to be faithful that the future is going to get better and that things are going to be okay for you and your family. Now, the reason this is so very important is because if you're constantly feeling fear, then what's going to happen is you're not going to have the energy and clarity of mind that you need to figure out what the next steps are in order to figure out your situation, right? So choose every single day, even if you have to get in the mirror like that one little girl in that viral video where she's talking about, I'm this, I'm that, and the affirmations. Even if you've got to do that every single day, do that so that you can chase that fear away and operate on a daily basis according to faith. And that's going to lead to you being a lot happier, a lot clearer in the mind like we talked about, and you're going to be just fine. You know, unprecedented times like these present not just hardships, but significant opportunities for growth. But again, those growth opportunities don't really realize themselves if you can't put forth the effort to overcome them. And not having fear in the way is a big step in being able to take those steps to overcoming and achieving that growth that you want to have. And again, if you're one of those people who, when you hear just be happy, doesn't really resonate with you and maybe upsets you a little bit, here's some tips that you can do to put yourself in that position if you think that just thinking it won't make it happen. One of those things is into your plan every single day, you can schedule some time to spend time writing what it is you're thankful for and what it is you're glad that you do have. You know, you may be focused right now on what it is you don't have, but we've all got something, right? Something still in our lives that make our lives meaningful and worthwhile. And so focusing on those things is going to help you look past those things that you feel like you don't have. Another thing you can do is to lose yourself in service to other people. Just like fear and faith not being able to exist at the same time in our hearts and minds, you cannot be stuck on yourself and moping around and feeling self-pity if you're constantly working on ways of helping other people. It's just not possible. So it's kind of a paradoxical thing where you think, oh, woe is me, life is hard and I'm struggling with this or that. You know, you might not think that the logical thing to do is to look outside yourself and help people. And I honestly can't explain to you why it works this way. I just know that it does. That if you look outside yourself, look for ways of helping other people in any way that you can, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself. And again, what we're looking for is to free up that energy so that you can have that energy to put towards the activities you need to do as you adjust to these new and strange times. And the odd thing about that paradox is when you operate your life this way, strangely, you get to your goals and what it is you want out of life a whole lot quicker than if you'd only focused on yourself. It's true. It's really true. So I really hope, guys, that these were some helpful tips for you, both in the last video where we talked about things that you want to avoid doing, and in this video where we talked about things that you want to make sure and do so that you can set yourself up for the most amount of success during this strange and challenging time of disruption in our lives. Just for a quick second, I wanted to touch back on the tip that we talked about where I asked you to consider doing as many high yield exercises as possible. Again, like we talked about in the last video, there's a lot of people giving advice out there, including advice on home workouts. And a lot of them, yes, are gonna give you a sweat, but do you wanna just sweat or do you wanna get the most out of the time you spend with every single repetition that you do? I hope the answer is yes to the latter. And so I want you to consider being very selective and choosy about what it is that you choose to do for the workouts and exercises that you do. Again, I have the exercise of the week video series here on my YouTube channel that can give you some awesome suggestions and ideas. These are tutorial videos that will help you to perform the exercises safely, properly, so that you get the most out of them and that you don't waste time. Because again, who wants to waste time exercising and trying to get fit longer than they have to? So thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video, and aloha.